Hello, everybody. It's Jacob from Watching Me This here. This is going to be Wednesdays with Wager, week number 4 of the NFL season. I'm going to make some changes to the show. Um, One of the things I don't think I was giving out um, a high enough quality because I was trying to match it to a money line plays or over and under plays. I was trying to define them too much like that. So instead, I'm just going to give out my favorite plays so they can be anything of the week, as well as still break down the Thursday game. And I would do the Monday games as well, separate show. But instead of like saying this is my favorite money line and this is my favorite money line dog, I'm just going to give out my favorite plays of the week. Sometimes that's going to be money line. Sometimes it's going to be dogs. Sometimes it's going to be props. Sometimes it's going to be totals. It just depends on what my favorite is. I actually think that the other way was hindering some stuff. So because I wasn't giving out all my good plays, because I was giving out all or not all my favorite plays, because I was giving out trying to structure it in a way that really wasn't going to ever work correctly. So we're gonna change that. We're gonna scrap that way to do that. We're gonna do it this way, where I just and you guys can ask me about any game on here, and I'll break it down for you. Um, Other than that, I'm gonna give out my favorite plays. I'm gonna start with Thursday here. I am going to talk about last week a little bit, some of the stuff that happened, the teams that stayed undefeated. A lot of the talk around the league about is Kansas City, getting the refs cheating for them. It's really all BS. Everyone just remembers the single plays. They don't remember like the drive before where Atlanta got all the penalties in their favor and stuff. So all that stuff it was just something people said. Plus, Kansas City's um, they're very polarizing, right? Because they're the big dogs. So anytime it looks like anything's fishy with them, it gets people run with it. But nothing really different any other time that happens in all the games. Good calls, bad calls. Now I will say that overall in that Atlanta game with Kansas City, the officiating was bad altogether on both sides. It was bad for both sides. So um, Kansas City was the better team. They won. They probably could have won better than that. They didn't, but they probably could have. And Atlanta, even though people want to say, "Oh, they were so close, they almost came back." I mean, were they? Even if they score, there was like 4 minutes left at that one point. Is Mahomes really not going to score again? So I don't know a lot of that. But I actually had the most money of the week on that game, partially because I added money to it right before it, but I just didn't think the pass rush for Atlanta would be able to do anything with Kansas City, and they didn't. And that was it was actually kind of a poor performance from the Chiefs offense because Atlanta didn't get pressure in the game. The Chiefs just didn't really execute. And the Chiefs have kind of done that a little bit, but it's not unusual for really good teams to kind of start slow. It's not really all that unusual. The Patriots used to do it all the time. Um, so the fact is that they haven't lost, and that's a bad thing for the rest of the league. So let's talk about like the darling right now, the Buffalo Bills, right? That's all I hear about is the darling Buffalo Bills. And yet, what's up, Fuzzy? And yet they really haven't played a defense yet, right? So this week they get to play against a team that has a defense. In fact, their next 3 games are Baltimore, Houston Jets, or Baltimore Jets, Houston. I can't remember exactly which way it goes. And then we'll see really what they're all about. I do think they're a really good football team, and I thought that going into the year that Josh Allen would be better without all those old players around him. It turns out he's doing pretty well. I also thought at the beginning of the year he was a really good MVP candidate. So um, it looks like a good shot if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But that game, Jacksonville's bad. Jacksonville, from what I've seen, is probably the worst team in the NFL. Just overall, they're just not good. I don't think they have one top 10 player at his position on their team. I don't think they have one. I don't think they have a single player that would be considered top 10 anywhere on their squad. So Jacksonville's going to be bad. It's not a good. They're going to blow that thing up. I mean, they may blow it all the way up, and Trevor Lawrence may be somewhere else. It may go all the way that far. That little rodeo is over. That Jacksonville's just going to be a punching bag this year. I don't know that they can win a game if they play that way, right? If they play, it almost looks like they're playing scared, like Lawrence is playing scared. So, even Carolina won a game, and they're not a very talented roster. Andy Dalton came in and won a game. I mean, overall, man, some of these teams in the NFL, it's a lot of it is just team construction and ownership, and that are the reason the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since the '90s is the ownership, is Jerry Jones getting in the way of it. So a lot of times it's that, right? You get the right coach, you get the right ownership, and next thing you know, you're in the playoffs all the time. You're winning Super Bowls. I mean, that's what Kansas City did. They got the right coach, they got the right ownership in there with the coach Brett Veach, and by ownership, sometimes I mean the GM. And they find Mahomes, they find Kelsey, they find all these players, your Sneeds, your McDuffies, and they just find all these guys and bring them in, and then it just becomes a big cycle. The Patriots used to do the same thing. They would trade off their guys that were going to end up costing a lot of money for draft picks, and they would just keep reloading. And that's kind of what the Chiefs are probably going to do going forward, I imagine. That's how they're going to keep competitive. But if you guys have any suggestions on any games you want to hear about or anything you want to hear about, just post it in the comments there. Otherwise, I'm going to jump into this Thursday game. So Thursday this week, it's a good matchup. It's Dallas and the Giants. In a lot of these primetime matchups, Dallas has just smacked the Giants. Really going back a little ways now. Dallas is a 6-point favorite on the road in New York. Last year in game one, Dallas, remember they had like defensive touchdowns and everything. Now that's a different team though. The Dan Quinn defense was better than I'm drawing a blank on their defensive coordinator right now, but he's much better. Same players for the most part, but just much better at orchestrating it. The Dallas just, they're struggling stopping the run. They can't run the ball themselves. But the problem is the Giants aren't good either. In fact, the Giants are bad. The Giants literally have one good player, as far as I can tell. I know they got Brian Burns, but I mean, is Brian Burns top 10? I feel like he's on the fringe of the top 10, maybe, as a pass rusher. So I'd like to think he's top 10, but he's like kind of a fringe top 10. They got Malik Neighbors. He looks like he's going to be the real deal. So he's probably going to waste his career at the Giants unless he can get out of there. But he looks pretty good. But so overall, in this Dallas game, the Dallas should dominate this game. They should dominate everything about this game. The passing, not so much running the ball because they don't run the ball very well, but the passing game should go good for Dallas in this one. And Dak Prescott called his team out, and these guys have been in the media kind of, saying they're refocusing and all that. And a lot of times that's a good thing. When you hear these guys get in the media and they're not bashing the other team or something, and they're talking about themselves, they're being really self-deprecating. A lot of times that next week they come out with a fire and they play really well. And I kind of think that's what happens in this one. I think Dallas covers the 6. I also like Dallas in the first half. In fact, I like Dallas in the first half -2.5 better than the 6. First half, Dallas -2.5. Yeah, I definitely look at it as a divisional matchup for sure. Yeah, absolutely. To me, that matters when like one team is really good and one team is really bad, more so than when both teams are kind of struggling, right? I mean, both these teams have the same amount of wins, so I don't know that really factors in as much on this one, but I do think Dallas covers the first half 2.5. And I like Dak Prescott's yards to go over. He's at 257.5. The Giants their top two cornerbacks, I believe, are out. It's either their top two or the number two and the number three cornerback are going to be out. Um, and that just is bad. You know, you can't. Corners are kind of a tough position to just fill in, so they're going to be lacking on the pass defense. Not that they were really good at it anyway. Um, and so, and CD Lamb was in the media. He was talking about how, you know, he's got to be better, this and that. So I actually think he has a big game. I took his over 90 yards at 115 plus 115. I thought it was pretty good value. I think Dak's going to look for him a lot. I think they're going to feature him more, like call plays directly for him a little more, because Dak's got to get some offensive rhythm going, and they're not getting it out of the running game. So it almost has to come from CD Lamb. I mean, it almost has to. So I really think that's what we see a lot of here, is that we see a lot of those crossing routes by Lamb, like those 15 yarders. I think he has a big game, especially against backup corners, maybe even backups to backups. Um, I think that goes actually pretty easy. Normally, these Thursday night games stay lower scoring and stay close. This one may stay low scoring. I don't think the Giants are going to score that much in this one. Um, the Dallas knows how to defend Daniel Jones, and I think Dallas has enough corners and stuff to play against neighbors. So I actually don't think this is going to be all that close. I'm predicting a score something like 24-10, and so that's a pretty low scoring game. But I think I don't think the Giants will be able to do much. I think the Giants turn the ball over a few times. I think Daniel Jones throws a pick in this one. Just I think it goes bad for the Giants in this one at home. It, and again, it's a Thursday game, so these Thursday games are a little tricky in that way, right? A lot of times these points are good too. I just can't bring myself to take the points with the Giants when I know what I've seen over the last few years is Dallas kind of dominating them. And I don't think the Giants, hello, Mid Atlantic Craps, I don't think the Giants have changed enough to uh, change that rhetoric. So I like Dallas. I like Dallas minus the 6. I also like Dallas minus 2.5 in the first half, even better. And like I said, I like Dak's passing yards to go over the 257 and CD to have over 90 receiving yards. Um, that's really all I'm going to bet in that one. I may end up with a Daniel Jones interception. Maybe not. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. So that's what I like for Thursday. Let's move on into Sunday. One of my favorite games this Sunday to be betting is going to be this Pittsburgh game versus Indianapolis. Um, Richardson is going to have a lot of problems with that defense. So a Richardson interception is on the table for me. I actually put 2 units on it because it was minus 170, which is terrible. But I don't know how he doesn't throw a pick in this game unless he gets knocked out. Now, he could get knocked out of the game, and that could stop it. But that D line for Pittsburgh is going to be all over those guys. And Richardson's already reckless with the football. It'll surprise me if he doesn't throw 2 interceptions in this game. So, and then it's actually a really short line, like it's minus 1.5, minus 2.5. But I'm just going to take the money line. I got it at minus 120. I don't really know what it's sitting at now. I'm just going to take Pittsburgh to go 4-0 against Indy. Ride that defense, ride a Justin Fields that's not turning the ball over. This is probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite play of the day. The Pittsburgh money line here. If it's not my favorite, it's right. It's like a 1A, 1B favorite type thing. I don't know where the Indianapolis Colts are going to come up with an offense to do anything about that Pittsburgh defense. It's the swarming, that D line. It's just too crazy. And then them guys just sit out there like they're catching punts when guys throw the ball up to them. So, and you got to expect Watt to get a few sacks, or just the pressures that cause the problems. The guys in the middle get the sacks. It shouldn't be a very good game for the Colts. And Pittsburgh will probably kick 5 or 6 field goals in it and win that way. I mean, the fact is Pittsburgh's probably going to go to 4-0. They're going to have kind of a stranglehold on that division already. Um, just looking really good. The Steelers, Tomlin and the Steelers, they just always figure it out. They always figure out how to win, 9 games, 10 games, right in there for sure. And then when they had Ben, obviously they were a lot better and they would win, 13 games. But I think they're back kind of on that track. I don't think Fields is the quarterback to do that, but maybe he's the step between the guy they draft or something. But I do think they're kind of wasting this elite defense, probably the best defense in the league up to this point. Um, Again, they haven't played the best competition, so that does factor. But Indy isn't going to fit the bill of the best competition either. So I like the Pittsburgh money line, and I like Richardson to throw a pick. I think them are pretty good bets. They're probably two of my favorite bets of the day, for sure. For sure, way up there. The next game I go to is the Tampa Bay and Philadelphia game. The over and under in this one is at 44. To me, that seems too low. Um, Tampa came off laying an egg, right? What's up? What's up, Larry? What's up, Mac? They came off laying an egg, right? Laid an egg at home against Denver. I just don't see that happening twice to them. So I see them getting in the 20s versus Philadelphia's really, really suspect defense. And then I expect Philadelphia to score as well with Barkley and Hurts. So I actually think this 44 is like quite a bit too low. Um, just because Philadelphia's defense and Philadelphia's offense are going to dictate that there's going to be a lot of points in the games they play. I know we're looking back on the New Orleans game going, well, they didn't score anything in that game hardly, but the opportunities were there. It wasn't like they didn't move the ball at all. So I actually think this one may, this is going to sound crazy, but this might get real close to this by half. Like I can see this thing being like 17-14 at the half. And, that's a whole bunch of 44. 31 is a big chunk of 44. I just think 44 is too low. It's quite a bit. In fact, I think it's a whole touchdown too low, probably. I expect this one to be like 28-24 or something like that. So I like Tampa Bay and Philly over. I don't think Philadelphia will stop Tampa Bay from throwing the football at all. They haven't stopped anyone from throwing the football, um, except for New Orleans, kind of for some odd reason. But I don't think they stop Tampa, and I don't think Tampa stops Philly. Next one I'm going to is the LA Rams going to Chicago. The Rams are getting 3 points in this one, and I just don't think that the Bears should be laying points. I know they have a solid defense. They do have a really solid defense. And I know that the Rams are basically bringing up just their practice squad to play, but their practice squad just beat San Francisco. Um, and they do have a running back, and they still have Stafford. And I just can't. I actually like Caleb Williams a lot, but he can't lay points yet. He's not laying a field goal. Like that don't make no sense to me. So I like the Rams here getting the 3. If I was going to bet a money line, this would be the money line that I would take as a dog. I just if someone can tell me the story that the Chicago Bears should be laying points this early in the season, I would love to hear it because I don't think they should. I don't. No matter who the Rams are bringing up there, as long as they're bringing Stafford and that McVay defense and Kyron Williams, I'm okay with taking. I'll take these 3 points, and I fully expect the Rams to win this game. I don't think Chicago's ready to start really winning yet. They're still kind of figuring out their identity on offense, and Caleb Williams is still trying to figure out if he wants to be dynamic or if he wants to be in the pocket. And there's just a lot there, and McVay's going to take advantage of that. And Stafford, and they'll play ball control and they'll run the ball, run the clock, and and you're getting 3 points. So I like that one. The next one I'm going to is Washington and Arizona. So we just watched Washington and Jaden Daniels kind of maybe come out of his shell a little bit. We saw a lot of deep passes in that one, him running for a ton of third downs. Well, Arizona's not going to stop him either. So, um, I Washington's catching 3.5 on the road, and I know it's weird to take a lot of road teams, but in this one, I can't make the case that either team is better than the other, right? I fully expect Arizona to score, and I fully expect Washington to score. The difference, I think, is that I think the coach for Washington's better. Dan Quinn's a better coach. And I think that the 3.5, as opposed to just a 3, that hook, I think that's going to really matter in this one. I think this is a 3-point game either way. And I think Washington's living high on the hog now. They came off that big win. I think they ride this one into Arizona. And I actually think they kind of win relatively from the front. You know, Arizona just struggled quite a bit with Detroit. And I'm not the biggest fan of Detroit's defense. They have a good pass rush. Outside of that, I don't know that their defense is all that great. And Kyler didn't move the ball very well in that game. So I think Washington does enough here. I think Washington runs the score up and forces Kyler Murray to play a track meet game, to play, a high scoring shootout game. And you're getting them 3.5. So I fully expect that one to be really high scoring. I think that was the highest total of the week, was like 50 or 51. And I think it gets there probably. But I like the 3.5 here with Washington. I just don't know where's Arizona going to stop that style of offense that they see every day, probably in practice with Kyler. But I just don't think they stop much of it. And not that I think Washington stops Arizona very much either, but just the overall of Washington's offense, to me, is better than the overall of Arizona's offense. Both of them can run the ball pretty well. Both of them have top end receiver types. Marvin Harrison is kind of already rounding into that, what people thought he would. But Washington already has that, and it seems like that they're starting to click. And like I said, I trust the coach. I kind of fully expect Washington to win that one outright, but it is in Arizona, so it wouldn't surprise me if Arizona kicks a late field goal to win. And for my last pick, this is the Sunday night game, is Bills in Baltimore. This is going to be the first real defense that Josh Allen sees. This is going to be, he hasn't played a real defense yet. He played Arizona, he played Miami, and then he just played Jacksonville. He hasn't faced any real defenses. In Baltimore, they're going to have a real defense there to, combat those kind of no-name guys that the Bills are putting out there at receiver. And now the tight ends, obviously, people know, and people know who James Cook is, but it's really the Josh Allen show. I actually think Baltimore won't have a ton of problems with this. I actually think the Bills lose here. They lose their first game on the road versus the first real defense they see. And I think the Bills defense, which seems to seemingly playing pretty well, it kind of comes back to earth when they play a team that can move the ball on them. But in this one, so I like the Baltimore side here. It's at home. Baltimore's kind of in a must-win still, even because of the way Pittsburgh's playing. So, and the Bills are probably a little high on the hog. Talking in the media, Josh Allen's talking about kind of throwing shots at Diggs without just saying it. So I don't know. I think this when Bills come back to earth a little bit, and I do think they're a good football team. But I think they come back to earth a little bit, and I laid 2.5 in this game. I don't. Does anyone? What is that Bills and Baltimore game sitting at right now? Does anyone know? I don't have my computer up here, so I can't look at it, and I'm obviously filming with my phone. So, does anyone know what that Bills Baltimore game is sitting at right now? because I laid 2.5, but I did this 20 minutes after the lines came out. So someone please put in the comments what that Bills Baltimore is up to now or down to. But that's what I think Baltimore wins the game. And less than a field goal, laying those points. Not too worried about that. Now, another thing I want to do is I know people like to play teasers. Still 2.5. Okay. So a lot of people like to play teasers. So I'm just going to name off my favorite teaser games, the sides that I like to tease. I actually, at this point right now, I have 6 of them, and I have all 6 of them in some type of teaser. So myself already. So I like Kansas City -7.5, tease it down to 1.5. I like Washington +3.5, tease it up to 9.5. I like the Jets -7.5, teasing down to the 1.5. Houston -6.5, teasing down to the half. Minnesota +2.5, tease it up to 8.5, and the Rams +3, tease it up to the 9. So all 6 of those games I think are very good teaser games. I personally have all of them matched up somehow with something in a teaser. That's what I was saying. I was changing the format of the show. So I'm just going to give out all the ones I think are good spots to tease instead of trying to, fit all specific teasers in, because I don't think that was working very well. And it wasn't nowhere near all the bets I was making. I had way more bets than that, and I wasn't putting them on here. So this is a better way to me. This is a way for me to say, okay, this is what I like, without having the structure binding it and boxing it in. So, you guys have any questions? I did bet an under, the Pittsburgh and Indy under. I took the under on that game as well, because it's just, I feel like it's kind of smart to take Pittsburgh unders. They tend to keep the games really low scoring. I think they have 3 unders this year already, right? So, but it's not one of my favorite plays, because I do think Richardson could cause a bunch of problems both ways. Maybe he has a great game, or maybe he turns the ball over 5 times, so it's kind of a shaky under, but not really. Still Pittsburgh. So they're still going to keep it low. But other than that, guys, ask me any questions. I'll stay on here for, however much longer here. But and another thing I wanted to talk about is, guys, keep an eye on these injuries. These injuries in the NFL this year are crazy. Whole teams basically are getting injured. The whole San Francisco offense was out. That's part of the reason they lost to the Rams. The whole Rams team is pretty much hurt. Some major injuries week in and week, the Love injury. There's just a lot going on the injury side of things. So keep an eye on that. Tua ruined Miami's season when he went down. They're not even competitive now. So, and if you guys want a survivor play, I like the Rams. I think the Rams are a good survivor play. Pittsburgh's a good survivor play. If you haven't played them. Some of the other ones, like if you haven't used Houston, this is probably not a terrible spot to use them. The Jets, if you haven't used the Jets, they're going against the Broncos. That's a pretty good spot to use them. So, but any questions? If not, I've been up since like 3:30 in the morning, so you missed Falcons Saints. Yeah, I didn't talk about it. That game is hard. That's one of the harder games on the whole slate to pick, right? Because both teams are coming off of somewhat heartbreaking performances, divisional, both indoor teams. The Saints, it's kind of hard to figure out what they are, because they had them 2 great games, and then they played a really weird bad game against the Eagles and let the Eagles win at the end. I don't know. And then the Falcons, on the other hand, the Falcons seem very talented, and Kirk Cousins looks like he's getting it together. Some of it's been their schedule. They didn't do him no favors. The Falcons got to play against Pittsburgh, the Eagles, and then Kansas City. It wasn't an easy schedule. So I feel like the Falcons are definitely more battle tested. The quarterback's about a wash for me. I feel like the Saints have the better weapons. Maybe the Falcons are slightly better coached, but I don't know. It seems like a very close game. Seems like a lower scoring game for some reason to me, not a higher scoring game. Um, Partly because I think both teams are going to be a little conservative in it. One of the things is Taysom Hill back, because I think that was one of the big issues in the Philly game was no Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill does a lot more for them than people realize. He's a lot of lead blocking. He's in the pass routes. He just does everything. So I think that was maybe some of the reason why they just weren't as effective with him being out. And the Falcons, how hard are they going to take that Kansas City loss? Is that Kansas City loss going to turn into 2 losses because they carry it over the Saints game? Same thing with the Saints. Are the Saints carrying over that Eagles loss in this Falcons game? So that's what makes me think it's going to be kind of low scoring. Like what I would look at probably is maybe the Saints are so tricky here, right? Because they've had them 2 explosion games too, but the Falcons don't get no pressure on the quarterback. This is a Saints money line game. This is what this is. This is a Saints money line play. That spread is really tight, right? Like it's like 1.5 or 2.5, something like that. So this is a Saints money line play. They're not going to get no pressure on Carr, and because they don't get no pressure on Carr, the Saints are going to win this football game at home. Yeah, no, you got to get pressure on the quarterback. Yeah, 2.5. You could lay the 2.5. I feel like even, but the money line is probably the right play here. I don't think the Falcons can do it. I like the 2 Monday night games. I actually like that. The only thing I wish they would do is I wish they would do like they would stagger them just a little better. Like don't start the second one until the half of the first one or something like that. Stagger them just a little better. I mean, I guess everyone can watch multiple games on their TVs now anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. You might as well put them on at the same time. But yeah, so as far as that goes, Larry, I like the Saints money line in that one. I don't think the Falcons will get any pressure. So Carr will probably have a really good game in that one. I would say Derek Carr probably passes for 250 plus in that one, especially because they're looking for the deep ball more. And yeah, I'm actually starting to really think that the Saints is really the side there. The more I'm breaking it down in my head, the more I'm thinking about just the lack of the pass rushes. The lack of pass rushes is what sold me on Kansas City going to the Atlanta getting the win and covering. And Kansas City was only laying 3.5 on the road. So yeah, I think this is the Saints. You can lay the 2.5. You can take the money line. I don't think the Falcons can win that game with that pass rush. Not against the Saints that's actually going to throw the football. So yeah, I like the Saints. Any other teams? Any other thoughts? What anyone else we got? Yeah, if Hill is back, that's a difference maker. I'm really on the Saints if Hill's back for sure. That line is almost kind of odd if Hill is back. So I don't know. I don't know if he's back. They probably don't know if he's back actually yet. They probably won't know till Friday or Saturday. But any other games that I didn't talk about that you guys want me to give my opinion on, give my thoughts on? Um, I know a lot of people are going to want to bet the Jets. The Jets make a lot of sense to bet. They're laying a touchdown and a hook against Denver. Um, I don't expect the Broncos to do much in that game. They're coming off their big win of the year in Tampa, going to Tampa. I don't think they can beat the Jets right after that. And Aaron Rodgers looked very good. Now the Denver defense is okay, but it won't be much of a match. They won't be much of a match for the Jets. They just won't. Rodgers, anytime the Denver's going to play a good quarterback, I don't think they're going to be able to win. So I expect the Jets to cover that spread. I actually expect that to be in the 24, 28 to 10, 13 range. Um, from a scoring standpoint, not really. Um, and the reason I say that is because if you watch the first couple games, it's been all predicated off of Saquon, right? Saquon's running and receiving has really driven their offense. And last week they got a huge play out of Goddard, one huge play where the Saints guys ran into each other. Other than that, I know I think it just highlights more Barkley, but and probably Jalen Hurts running the ball a little more. I do think Philadelphia is a lot better when they have those two guys on the field for sure. But I think that the addition of Barkley has changed the way they play football. So like I said, and it's only 44, and I know part of the 44 is coming from those receivers being out. Um, but man, Barkley's like MVP candidate right now. You know, he's in that world and he's playing that well. I kind of expect Barkley to score once or maybe twice in this game. I don't know. No, I actually think that 44 is an easy over. It's one of the better plays of the day, I think. Plus, I don't think Philadelphia will stop Tampa at all. So Tampa could easily get 30 of that. So, because I don't think Philadelphia can really stop anybody. And I know they just stopped the Saints, which is weird. It was a weird game. But I just don't think they got either it's the coordination or the pieces just don't fit or something, but it doesn't work as well as it used to. So no, I have no faith in the Philadelphia defense. I think they're good for 24 every game. They're just going to let people have it, except for New Orleans. Any other questions for me? Any other thoughts? You guys can offer up your picks too. Tell me what you guys are doing. I would love to hear some of that. If you're interested in my Discord, send me an email at wagermethis@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite to the Discord. You can get on there. We just hit the Fever game. Hit the Fever plus 6.5. The Fever screwed that one up. They could have won. They definitely could have won. Vikings, Packers for Fuzzy. Okay, this one's interesting because if we get Jordan Love back, it's a different thing, right? The Vikings are underdogs to the Packers, and they're undefeated. They're plus 2.5. This was one of the weirdest lines on the whole thing, and the Vikings defense is like playing lights out. So I don't know. This was such a weird. The line was just so weird. I didn't understand the line. With the Vikings playing as well as they're playing. Now, it's not like the Packers aren't playing well, right? Even with Malik Willis, they're figuring it out. So it was just such a weird line. It's on the road in Green Bay. I get that, but it's not. It's not like it's December or January or anything. It's not. You know, it's going to be sunny there. It's going to be nice. It's going to be 55 or something. You know, it's not. It's not going to be a weather issue. So I just don't understand why the Vikings are underdogs in this game. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I didn't think they should be huge favorites, but I would think that this line would be the other way, right? 2.5, 3 the other way. I think the Vikings should be laying points on the road here. Doesn't mean it's the right way. It's just you're an undefeated team that like nearly everyone has you up in their top 5 teams in the league right now. Your defense is getting all this credit. Sam Darnold's playing like a real quarterback. You obviously have one of the best receivers in the world. But Green Bay's still favored. It's just a weird. I don't know. The coach at Minnesota is really good. The McConnell guy, he's really good. LaFleur for Green Bay, really good. So if I'm playing this game, I'm taking them points. I know it's hardly any points, and like I said, I like Minnesota on a teaser because you're getting it up 8.5. You're getting it over a touchdown, and so I like that. Um, but could this be the game that Sam Darnold lays an egg? Yeah, it definitely could. And the Green Bay defense is good enough that maybe they could force a little of that. But if I'm forced to pick a side here, I'm going to take the Vikings based on their past couple games and the way the defenses is playing. And I think that if it's Malik Willis, that could be an issue. Now, if it's Jordan Love, how limited is he? You know, I just feel like if you're taking the Packers, you're gambling. You're kind of gambling here. You can get the Vikings in the points. It just makes more sense, especially if you're taking it up over 7 on a teaser. So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. It's kind of Minnesota for me. The Minnesota money line makes a lot of sense as well, just because you're going to get plus money, right? You're going to get plus money to take an undefeated team. So I'm on the Minnesota side there. That defense is it's just giving people problems. Any other stuff? Malik Willis is playing way better than he is too. LaFleur is he's a whisperer or something because no time ever did we ever see Malik Willis look like this, and he looked like a real quarterback. So LaFleur is just a good coach, really good coach. Plus, Green Bay has all those underrated receivers. You know, the one thing is you have 5 number twos. That's not bad, right? If you have 5 guys out there that are number 2 receiver on any team in the NFL, you're probably doing okay. Hard to cover all those guys. And Green Bay ran the ball 53 times against the Colts, and then last week they threw the ball a bunch. So, I mean, interesting. Still, how do you go against Minnesota right now? And they're getting points. I got to be on Minnesota side. If there's not anything else, guys, I'm going to get to sleep. I got to work in the morning again. Tomorrow, Cowboys Giants. Again, like I said, I'm on the Cowboys side of this. I like Cowboys -6. I like Cowboys -2.5 in the first half. And I like Dak to have a bunch of passing yards in this one, over 257, and CD over 90 for the plus money. I'd have took CD to score a touchdown, but it was -155, and that didn't seem good enough. Now, Elliott was +115 or something. That was the second choice I had because he gets a lot of their goal line work. So that seemed like a logical choice, but I was really wanting more like 150. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time. You guys have a great day. This is Jacob from Wager Me This.